Michiko and Hatchin episode 17, Buckets of Blood, Opera That Stirs the Heart. I enjoyed this episode, especially the very end. Like, for some reason, that little race thing that they had was very intense to me, because I just, for like a quick second, I kind of put myself in Michiko's shoes, just imagining what that could have been like, just getting yanked, almost off a building, technically off a building, because she was just on the beam at that point by the end of it. And I was just like, I can't imagine something as crazy as that. And the guy himself, he ran the race and, put his life in Michiko's hands. In real life, of course, that never would have worked. Even if she stopped herself, that guy would have been toast when that rope broke. Because, I mean, I'm sure you could do that technically, but that's a heck of a strain. Your teeth have to be strong. I was like, my teeth probably would have just shattered. Like, if I did that, if you do that the slight wrong way, your teeth are just flying straight out and he's dying. But that was just intense. It was like the tiniest little thing, but I just loved that because it was so intense. Of course, I love Michiko when they were doing the rock, paper, scissors. And there's like rock, and she just uppercuts him, and they do. I love when that happens in anime, when they do like slow motion, hand to face contact, and it was just like it wasn't like super slow, but it was just enough to where you could see how his face started and how it was slowly transforming. I like that scene. It was just really funny. And then whatever the guy said was like, come on, she's like, shove it up your ass and stuff. That was really funny to me. And the guy was just like, she's just gonna get herself killed. But it was fun. It was actually a oddly fun episode in a weird way, because we had our girls split up, but we had Hatchin, who people thought was a boy again, which I thought was funny. They did that twice. Like, first the photographer was like, oh, a mother and a nice looking boy too, and I was like, man, that's really messed up. And then the guy who was actually the opera dancer or singer, he was like, oh, geez, you're a boy, or you're a girl, like, even worse for you to be here then. And I was like, man, everyone, like, she does kind of look like a boy, but it was just like, oh, that kind of sucks. Like, it just keeps happening. And just this episode alone makes it 3 times, and twice in one day for her. So it's like, that kind of sucks. And then we meet the boy, who I think we all thought was a girl, but it totally makes sense. Like, this boy is inspired by his father, who does the dancing as a woman, as a female character during the performances. So his plan is to kind of dress up and do the same thing as a child, and it made sense like really quick. But before that, and he just stands up and he lifts the dress. I was like, why is this happening? Like, we have Hatchin, who's a girl that everyone thinks is a boy. Then we have this boy who, of course, looks like a girl. And then it's like, okay, so it makes sense he's inspired by his father, and so that's why he does that as a kid. And then I started to not like the kid when he made me think of Hatchin, like in the first episode when she was being treated wrong by that other family. And I was like, why is she taking crap from this kid? Like, I know she got mad, but the kid was being a little prick, and she got mad. She got rightfully mad and, threw the soup at the wall. And I understood, like, her cleaning it up, but her taking him just, like, throwing the shells of the nuts on her and stuff, was like, she shouldn't take that crap. But they end up kind of coming together as a team when the boy ends up freaking out, like, oh, my dad must be in trouble. And then Hatchin kind of steps up because she kind of sees a similar relationship between her and Michiko. And I thought that was pretty cool. And, like, she sees, like, especially during that little scene where the kid's like, after our mom died, or after my mom died, he really stepped up and became a great dad. And it was kind of the reverse, where it was almost totally the reverse, aside from the fact that Hiroshi didn't die. Seemingly died. So in a way, it is almost like the opposite. It's like the same story, just different, opposite sexes. But she sees the same thing, and it's like she has like this little image of Hiroshi, but it gets really blurry, and then it changes to Michiko. And it's like, that's really cool that they did that, and they really talk about it. And it was just nice. It was like, once again, Hatchin trying to save Michiko. She wants to save this woman that she cares about, like, who is her mother. And if she's not really her mother, at this point, they are definitely mother and daughter. They even have a nice picture where they're laughing and stuff, and I love that. I was like, that just kind of made me happy seeing that, because we don't see them do that. Like, we have the scenes where Michiko survives just insanity, or Hatchin does, and they hug and they care about each other. But this was like just a genuine scene where Michiko just was messing with Hatchin and they were both laughing, and they just have a really nice picture. And I was like, that's actually really awesome to see, because we don't really have that. We have, like I said, the moments where they connect and stuff, and it's emotional because they've reconnected after some crazy adventure, which does happen again in this episode. But that was just, they were in a nice moment and they just were laughing, taking a picture, and I was like, that's really nice to see. So I love that. The ending was really funny, seeing the parallels between Michiko and Hatchin and the little boy and his father, because they run into each other and it's super nice and comforting, and the boy like jumps in his father's arms and he's just holding him, and they're walking into the place. And then we have Michiko and Hatchin, with Hatchin just being yelled at by Michiko, like, what the hell is your problem? Like, I told you, didn't I tell you to wait? Why are you always getting in trouble and stuff? And it was just so funny. Like, it was such a stark contrast. Like, why is she mad at her in this situation? Like, if it weren't for Hatchin, as usual, in these really weird cases, if it weren't for Hatchin, then Michiko would have probably just been dead, or sold into, like, sex slavery, based on what the guy was trying to do, or was talking about with the father. So it was just funny seeing her get really mad, and then Hatchin just hugs her, and it ends it all, and it's just like they're back together, and it's really nice. So I love that. The other little thing that happened that's actually going to affect like sort of the main story arc is Satoshi's subordinate actually officially surviving. Like, we knew he wasn't really dead, but we actually get to see him in this episode. He is basically blind in one eye now, so that was kind of weird to see. It was like, it was slight, but I like the way that they did that. It wasn't just like insanely obvious. It was just like his eye was a little bit wider than his other eye. So I was like, I like how they did that. He had like a leg brace on, and he had like no teeth during that one scene. He had like just a bunch of teeth missing. So he put a hit out on Satoshi, and he's going to try to have him taken down. Well, I guess it's not a hit technically, since he wants him alive. But he wants him alive. He wants to make himself the leader. So that's going to affect some upcoming episodes. That definitely ties into like the main story arc. And I'm wondering how that's going to kind of come back full. Like, I'm wondering if Satoshi and Hiroshi will ever encounter each other again in the present timeline, because they're totally on different paths. Obviously, Hiroshi just he faked his own death, and then he left everything behind. So I'm curious if they're going to end up encountering each other as Michiko and Hatchin get closer to finding Hiroshi. And then we have this other stuff with Satoshi dealing with his old subordinate, and also him not exactly having the most favorable opinion of Michiko based on the last time they interacted. It wasn't exactly nice. So I'm wondering if they're all going to end up running into each other, and we're going to have these like 5 pretty important characters by the end of the series, and it's just going to be a little bit of chaos. But I'm looking forward to it either way. I like this episode. It was kind of heartwarming. Like, it was a little heartwarming. Like, it had its bits and pieces, and it was mostly from Hatchin. Like, the picture, and Hatchin thinking of Michiko in the way that the little boy described his father, where he really stepped up, and he used to kind of be like a deadbeat. And it's very much Michiko, where she was a criminal and stuff like that. And it started off where it was just like, I'm just taking you to your dad, and that's it. And now, of course, it's very different than it was when the series first started. So she sees her in a new light, and I just thought that was very nice and kind of heartwarming for the show, and I definitely enjoyed that. One thing that I really thought about in the beginning of this episode is that it's the 22nd of May. I was really surprised they didn't do a Cinco de Mayo thing just for the series, because it just made sense. Like, obviously it's inspired by a very specific culture, and I was really shocked. I was like, that seemed like the perfect episode. Like, that totally should have been in there, and I was very surprised that that didn't happen. But that's just something that I noted, and I thought about that before too, but I just never mentioned it in a review. But when they skipped over Cinco de Mayo, I was like, huh, that's really weird that they would have done that. I thought for sure that the writer of the show would have been like, Cinco de Mayo, because based on because of the culture that the show is based off of. And it just really surprised me. But I like this episode. Looking forward to how stuff works out with Satoshi, and then bringing back this new group that we've kind of been introduced to. So that should be something, like them coming back and Michiko encountering them again. Possibly they might just end up hiring someone else, and then it'll just be a random person affiliated with the group we saw in this episode. But I enjoyed this episode, of course. I want to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I want to know what you guys thought about Hatchin's sort of concept of Michiko at this point. Because, like I said, I personally thought it was fairly heartwarming. Definitely more than we've really seen. And she's actually reflecting on how Michiko is as a character. And we get the parallel story of how the boy's son was formerly kind of a deadbeat dad, and then he really stepped up after he was a single parent, and he really changed his ways and took care of his son. And like I said, it's kind of heartwarming to see Hatchin thinking of Michiko in the same light. So for me, I personally really enjoyed it because it's not something, like, we knew it was there, of course, and we've seen it in other episodes, but I think this one really focused on it with the actual parallel story and seeing some of the inner thoughts of Hatchin, like especially the Hiroshi scene where he fades away and then Michiko comes into focus. So that's what I think about it. I loved it. Like I said, though, I want to know what you guys thought, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.